in that sense, but still the same weapon, the same rules. But we'll explain as we go along because it's a little easier that way. But there are 3 in each team, and every athlete has to fence the other athlete, and it's the first team to 45. Each bout that comes on goes up to the next number of 5, so to speak. So the 9 fights in total of 5 hits each. However, say the first team go on and win, say, 5 points to 3. The next 2 opponents come on after the score of 5 is reached. Now the team that's trailing 3 points could actually be the first to 10, and the score could then be 10-5, and so on. So every time a multiple of 5 is reached, the next 2 athletes come onto the piece, and they're in a set order. The team enter the order beforehand of the numbers they want that to give to each athlete. There's 2 athletes from category A, 1 from category B per team, and they all have to fence each other. So we'll see category A against category B on a couple of occasions, which will be interesting to see if that comes and shows any exciting fights, because in theory category A should be a stronger fencer than B, but that isn't necessarily always so.
So sometimes an advantage to have your stronger fencers towards the end?
Well, I mean, all the fencers will fence towards the end because it's rotating, but the final, you can obviously, by working out which number you want to put to, you might have your strongest on last, because if there's a deficit, you would hope that they could bring that back. But it depends on the scoreline. Obviously, the first to 45, and the leading team will only need to get 5 points by the time they reach the end. And if you're trailing by 20 points, that might be a tough ask.
Well, we're looking forward to some great action, and always, from my experience, team competition has something a little bit extra to it, because all the team obviously working as a team, and it's not just an individual sport. So you get a different dynamic in team competition. And there's the Italian team there. Marco CIMA, Matteo BETTI, Emanuele Lambertini. And as you can see, already talking tactics.
Well, the first match that we'll be watching in Pool B will be Italy and China, as you say, and then Poland also in the mix, so they will be up next after that.
This is some strong team, I was going to say. I'll let you introduce it, Heather.
The team of China, Hu Daoliang, silver medalist in the individual foil, already here at these Paralympic Games. Sun Gang, gold in the epee, bronze in the foil, and then TIAN Jianquan, a bronze in the epee and the saber. So out of the 3 athletes that the team from China have, they have 5 medals already from these Paralympic Games. That's quite incredible.
That is some team, isn't it? It really is, and they are the team to beat. And I think every team here realizes that. But sometimes, you know, I've seen the strongest teams on paper. They don't always come off best. It works slightly different.
Well, they will have to deliver on the day. They'll be up first against Italy. We can see Emanuele Lambertini taking to his chair. Made it through to the quarterfinals, but didn't progress. Finished 8th in the individual foil. CIMA Marco made it into the semi-finals and finished 4th in his individual foil event. And Matteo BETTI, the only one who actually competed in the individual epee, finished 7th in that and 6th in the foil. Now don't forget, this is the epee competition. So on paper, Italy may be stronger in the foil team. They'll have that the following day. So first to fence will be Sun Gang, the People's Republic of China, up against Emanuele Lambertini from Italy. First to 5. So in that sense, the rules will be the same as they are in the individual. So if you have watched any of the previous few days. We had the Epee 2 days ago, the individual Epee. And we will shortly be seeing the Paralympic champion from that event. Sun Gang is in the team for China. So that's got to make them the favourites.
Just explain a little bit about the targeting for Epee and how that differs from the foil.
Well, you can see the folded foil material on the floor. Now that will be fixed around the waists of the athletes very shortly once they've got their positions in the chair, the distance measured between the platform. And in Epee, a hit can be scored anywhere from the waist upwards. So the arm, the wrist, the body and the mask all on target. And we'll see shortly how the area is secluded to make sure that the chair and the legs are not part of the target area. They will be covered by the foil apron. But in Epee, it's on a more straightforward and maybe slightly slower, although you won't think it when you watch it, because still wheelchair fencing is incredibly fast and quick, all about the reactions, as the distance between the two fences can only be altered by movement of the torso, of the hips. So you'll see a huge amount of flexibility coming from the chairs, but there'll be a referee on either side. Those referees stood behind the fences now will be poised just behind the fences, checking that there's not too much movement, and the maximum out of the chair allowed is 1 buttock. So if more than that comes off the chair, the athlete tries to reach up, then they'll be awarded a warning first and then a red card, which equates a point to the opposition.
Just a little bit about the classification. 2 of each team have to be A classification, 1B, and the difference being Class A incorporating athletes with good balance and recovery and full trunk movement. Class B, those with poorer balance and recovery, but full use of one or both of the upper arms. And it's the first time where we'll see the A's actually competing against B classification.
It is. Well, we're starting off with 2 A fencers here. Lambertini for Italy, Sun from China. Both already competed in these games. Sun had an incredible start. Lambertini, his first ever Paralympic Games, still gaining valuable experience, and he's up against the reigning Paralympic champion from just 2 days ago in this weapon, the Epee, and the bronze in the foil, Sun Gang, on the left of our screens. Lambertini only competed in the foil, so first time picking up the Epee on in this Paralympic competition.
Yeah, tall order, isn't it, for Lambertini? But first on the piste, and you have the Paralympic champion. But there we go. It's everything to fight for and nothing to lose.
A young 17-year-old for Italy on the right, Lambertini up against Sun of China. Sun of China just finding his way, and then in, just trying to get a reaction from Lambertini. He was gently stroking the blade. He's keeping his distance and just perfectly timed on the arm. Very neat and tidy, not making any mistakes. Sun. Well, Lambertini now just slightly aware, not wanting to close that distance too soon unless he is ready after those initial opening hits from Sun. And Sun just trying to ease Lambertini into the distance. But Lambertini has become a little more cautious after getting caught on the arm twice and those very tidy opener hits by Sun.
Yeah, the referee just adjusting the skirt there just to make sure that covers the chair.
Lambertini really acting defensively, not wanting to give any more advantage to China. Only 3 minutes allowed per 5 touches, so whatever comes first, 5 hits or 3 minutes, will signal the changeover, and the next 2 fencers will come onto the piste.
So it's first to 45 for the team.
A lovely flick there by Sun on the arm. Lambertini doing his best to just stay ahead of that accurate point. And this time underneath. Sun just so accurate.
Well, as suspected, we knew that the Chinese were going to be strong. Look at the chairs there, how they're coming and travelling.
Well, 5-0 lead for the People's Republic of China. Italy with some work to do, and it's going to be CIMA Marco, the Italian, who'll be on next up against TIAN Jianquan. And Marco Sima will have his work cut out with a 5-0 deficit. It'll be the first to 10 in the next fight. But look at that, just disengaging underneath the arm by Sun. Really showing his class. And he is the Paralympic champion, so that was going to be a tough call for the young Lambertini.
Yeah, like you say, just looking at his age now, 17 years of age, and every second out there in a Paralympic Games, great experience for him, but a tall order there against Sungang.
Well, here we have the other pools happening alongside, and the other matches in the pools as well. So 3 teams per pool. And this pool, sorry, has Italy, China, and Poland. We're following the match between China and Italy in this pool B. On the other side, sees Brazil, France, and Greece. And in the pools, it'll be the top 2 teams. So ahead of Italy, China, and Poland on this side. One of those teams will then have to fence off for 5th or 6th, whereas the top 2 teams will go through to the semi-finals. Up now, TIAN Jianquan on the left-hand side already has 2 bronze medals from these Paralympic Games, a bronze in the epee, which we are watching now, and a bronze in the sabre. He's up against Marco Sima, the Italian, who finished 4th, made it through to the semi-finals in the foil, didn't compete in the epee. So the first time at these Paralympic Games on the piste with an epee in his hand for Marco Sima.
Yeah, tall order, 5-0 down as well, and against the bronze medalists.
Well, Marco Sima will be desperate to go one better than he has earlier on in this competition, finishing 4th in the individual foil, but also 2 4th places at the London Paralympic Games, including in the open team event. But this match right now could be a tall order. However, this is not a knockout phase yet, so if Italy don't manage to catch back up that lead that China have started to obtain, they have a chance if they can beat Poland later on. And it might be their best chance, because China now leading 8-0.
Yeah, we kind of suspected this might happen. There's the 9th. So 9 points up there to China, and their strength in depth starting to show.
TIAN Jianquan showing his skill as the current bronze medalist from these Paralympic Games in Epee. And there's the scoreline. 10-0. China lead Italy quite convincingly there. But we do just need to point out that that might have been expected in that fight, because TIAN Jianquan is a category A fencer, and Marco Sima had his work cut out as a category B. So a little less movement from the Italian in comparison to TIAN. And just making it look very easy.
Yeah, so precise there, wasn't he, TIAN?
I think that was a matter of business. Get it over with. Nice and simple. The bronze medalist from category A over predominantly a foilist from category B. You wouldn't really expect any other result. So, bout 3. What can Italy do? Matteo BETTI now faces Daoliang. Now this, in theory, Matteo BETTI, a category A fencer, up against Daoliang from category B. So this could be the chance for Italy to at least get some points on the board. But just to give perspective, for Italy to take the lead, they now need to get 15 points. So BETTI needs to get 15 victories before Hugh gets 5.
That is a tall order, isn't it? That really is a tall order, and so building up the lead, very, very important. And Daoliang, well, he has pedigree as well, my goodness.
Well, this could be, though, Italy's best chance to get back in the match, because Matteo BETTI, the strongest épée fencer in the Italian team, and Daoliang, on paper, the weakest of the 3 Chinese. He's category B, and he has a medal from the foil, a silver medal from the foil, just 1 day ago, but no medals from the épée from these Paralympic Games. So this may be the chance for Italy to start to claw back some of that deficit, and BETTI starts the battle as he means to go on. 1 point on the board for the Italians. 14 more needed if they're going to take the lead. And here goes BETTI on the comeback.
Well, interesting to see how it unfolds. And now Italy's chance.
However, for Italy, it's the time that will be against them. Hugh just making it a little bit harder for the Italians. Only 4 points needed by China right now to the end of this match. Italy still needing 12. You can see the clock counting down, and this is where we could see time start to feature in wheelchair fencing. BETTI 3 points on the board, but almost a minute gone. He needs another 12 in the remaining 2 minutes.
I'll just explain just how it can make a difference, the difference category A against category B, just as far as the movement's concerned.
Well, we're not seeing too much movement from BETTI at the moment, but he's able to move that bit quicker, extend and flex his trunk to close the distance, and a quick reaction there by BETTI, making the most of that mobility, closing the distance in with his attack on the arm of Hu. Creeping ever closer. Now if Hu doesn't make it to 15 in the next minute and a half, BETTI might only need to have 12 points to go into the lead for Italy. Within 4 now. This, a strong comeback from the Italian team. So a Category A fencer up against a Category B fencer. This will happen once more in the team, as who will have to face Emanuele Lambertini, Italy's other Category A fencer. And it'll depend on where this happens in the draw, because it'll give Italy another chance to make this comeback that Betti is currently managing. And look at that now, just 2 points separating. Don't forget the start of this match, of this bout, China led 10 points to 0, and now the score 11-9, 11-10.
Wow, what a great comeback here by Betti and by Italy. And it's all evens.
Simple, very straightforward there, just a little cart beat attack from Matteo Betti. 11 all. And those last few hits, all within that minute. Oh, Hugh. First hit he's had in over a minute. Feeling the pressure, as Betti has just made such inroads into the score. Double touches in Epee count. So both athletes adding 1 point to their score, getting ever closer to 15 in this situation. It is the either once the clock runs out or the score reaches 15 that the changeover will happen. And now evening it up again. Matteo Betti over Daoliang. China against Italy in Pool B of this men's Team Epee competition. Oh, what a lovely hit underneath the wrist by Hu. So tidy and accurate. Puts him just 1 point away from keeping China in the lead. And he does it. Nope, that was off target. The referee not allowing that. Didn't quite see where the points went of Hu.
Well, you can see he hasn't quite got the same reach, but manages it there, and that was still a point for Hugh, and he is now 15, or China are 15-13 ahead.
Well, that was a strong comeback by Betti, getting 13 points to Hugh's 5. So close to getting Italy back in front, but China still dominates at the first third of this relay. 3 bouts gone, 6 to go. And next up, we'll see Sung Gang and Marco Sima. Well, Sung Gang will have the advantage over Sima. On the left-hand side, there's Sung Gang. Now expect this to be a rather unevenly matched bout, because Sung Gang is the reigning Paralympic champion from Category A in the Epee event. He is up against Marco Sima, who is predominantly a foil specialist and Category B. So I think somehow we could see the score soon stretch to 20 points to China, and it'll be impressive if Italy get many more than 13.
Yeah, certainly a tall order. Marco Sima knows that, though. But certainly that score looks a little bit more respectable now, 15-13, but with the current Paralympic champion just about to go for China. As Heather said, it's a tall order.
And Sun straight in with the cart attack, so simple. Just really being controlled, very relaxed. Trying a coupe on the wrist, failed with that attack, but soon back out of distance. And so quick when he comes in on the arm. Perfect direct hit there by Sun.
Well, certainly this is where the extra reach just makes that little bit of difference, especially against the Paralympic champion. And 3 quick points there up for Sun.
I think this could be one of the quicker. This is probably the most mismatched two opponents from the whole team. China's #1 épée fencer from category A up against Italy's only category B fencer. We would expect Sun to easily get the points on the board, and just one more needed. And then that'll be the end of this bout. And so quick, can't beat, onto the arm. Easily done there for Sun over Marco Sima, and now Italy trailing by 7 points. Look at that, just direct, straight, timed it perfectly. Just as Sima was starting to retreat, he got in there very easily indeed.
Well, exciting stuff in this team competition, and incredible to see the scores change and how they can pull them back. But now we've got a beat.
So about 5, it's Hyo Daoliang. We saw just maintain the lead for China early on up against Lambertini. So Lambertini, category A fencer, up against Hu, a category B fencer, but Hu with the more experience of the two, having already 5 gold medals from previous Paralympic Games, including a silver in this Games in the foil, but he does have gold medals from Team Epee as well, and individual épée from 8 years ago. So even though he's a category B fencer, he has plenty of Paralympic experience. And Lambertini, just 17 years of age, competing in his first Paralympic Games, finished 8th in the foil, didn't qualify for the individual épée. Well, what can Lambertini do in this situation? He'll 7 points down, so he'll know there's only 3 minutes on the clock. He'll need to be really making some swift moves against the experienced Chinese fencer.
I was going to say, what's going through his mind at this very moment, Lambertini? Every second on the piste is great experience for him. Just explain a little bit about the skirt there. I mean, they're to cover the wheelchair, but also they have a short circuit in them as well, don't they?
Yep, I think you've explained it quite well there. It's the target for épée is waist upwards, so anywhere on the arm, the mask and the body. And that's just to ensure that any hits scored below the waist are not triggered. The lights won't come on, but they'll test that in a moment. Same as the guards covering the hand on the épée. That's also off target, so they're just checking the guard and checking the apron. No light appears, so it's all connected fine. On the épée, tip is compressed. Anywhere else other than the guard or the apron, the light should come on. And occasionally we see someone maybe hit as far off as off the piste. That tends not to happen in wheelchair fencing, mainly in able body fencing when there's more movement. Who Daoliang has to get the first 5 hits, well, get the 5 hits before Lambertini can make it to 25. So Lambertini already starting to make a comeback. 2 in quick succession. The category A fencer up against a very experienced category B fencer. This is the second time Hugh has come on with a significant lead. He came on with a 10-0 advantage early on over Italy. Still maintained the lead, but only just. And now Hugh getting the first point, one closer to the necessary 25. Well, it's 2 apiece for the individual fencers, but 22-15 on the overall team score. And now Hugh just finding his stride over the less experienced Italian.
So increasing the lead, and there it is, 24. just needs one more.
Just disengaging Lambertini's blade, and so easy. The Category B fencer wins 5 points to 2 over a Category A fencer. We didn't expect it to be quite so easy for Hu, but he does have 5 gold medals from Paralympic Games past, including this one, and the experience there really just proving evident over the first-time Paralympian Lambertini of Italy. Well, now Italy trail again by 10 points to score 25-15 to China. Next on the piece for bout number 6, TIAN Jianquan up against Matteo BETTI. TIAN Jianquan, the bronze medalist in the individual epee and the individual sabre from these games. BETTI already competed in the foil and the epee. The best he's managed is 6th overall in the foil, but does have a Paralympic bronze medal in this event from 4 years ago. So we have 2 Paralympic bronze medalists in epee up against each other, both Category A. So expect to see this maybe a slightly more evenly matched here. But don't forget, China with a significant advantage, a 10-point lead. TIAN Jianquan will need 5 points, and BETTI, if he's going to take the lead, needs to get 15. So that makes it pretty tough on the Italian.
I was going to say, if you're the team manager of the Chinese team, what would be the team instructions for TIAN coming out there now? Well,
right now it's just to maintain the lead, most importantly, but try to increase the lead as much as possible for Hu Daoliang has one more match, and he's the Category B fencer, so they've got the 2 fights out the way for Hu already. But interestingly, it'll be who his final fight is up against another Category B fencer. So in that sense, Hu's had his 2 most difficult fights. So China now, if they've got those 2 out the way early on, will be feeling fairly confident with the scoreline. Marco Sima already had his 2 as well. So Italy with just one more bout for their Category B fencer as well. So unlikely that Italy will be able to catch up this deficit, but anything can happen in sport, and the Italians will just be taking every bout one at a time. There's nothing more they can do. And these 2, both bronze medalists, the current bronze medalist from these Paralympic Games up against the London 2012 bronze medalist in epee. This could be the chance for Italy to start to eat into that deficit. Equipment checked, and the athletes will be called on guard. Now we're moving through this quicker than you might expect. We're not seeing the athletes bring their wheelchairs onto the platforms, and that's because this pool are using 2 pieces simultaneously just to move it through quicker, because there are 9 bouts in a relay, and the time taken for preparing the chairs and the equipment would really slow the proceedings down. So just to make sure we can get through all the fights in one day, 2 pieces are used for each competition between the 2 teams. So Poland will be resting at the moment. They are the other team in this Pool B, and they'll be up next. I'm sure they'll be watching from afar, just having a look at the form of China and Italy.
Yeah, I think that's the advantage, isn't it? Sometimes have a look at the opposition, have a look at the tactics that are being played, and then planning. But like you say, they'll be looking at both teams and their form.
Well, the form of China, not surprising. 5 Paralympic medals from these Paralympic Games among the 3 fencers. I mean, well, that really surely puts them as firm favourites to win the overall team title.
That is some team, isn't it? 10-point difference.
TIAN just taking his time, trying to coax BETTI into an attack. He's keeping his arm back, coming in, keeping it very straight. BETTI very close then to the torso of TIAN. And BETTI getting the first hit on the scoreboard, trailing by 9, but a 1-0 in this round over TIAN.
Pulled a lot of points back in the previous match, BETTI.
By far the strongest of the 3 in the Italian team. And BETTI being very cautious, but time will be on the side of China because there are only 3 minutes allowed. TIAN equalising in this round, 1-1, but now only 4 points away from the end of this bout. The first team to 30 will signal the changeover and the next bout will begin.
Well, as you said before, that it takes a lot of time to set up the wheelchairs, so saving a lot of time in this team competition, going between the both pieces.
TIAN may be playing a little bit for time here if he's feeling BETTI is on good form. TIAN knows that BETTI will have to start coming forward to attack, and then the counter-attack from TIAN. He's definitely got the ability to use tactics to his advantage with such a significant lead. Already almost halfway through the time allowed. BETTI with some serious work to do.
Yeah, we haven't seen the time come into play, have we? All the way through the last 3 days, and so interesting to see it starting to come into play now. Like you say, he can play a bit of a waiting game.
He can, because, I mean, if TIAN stays out of reach of BETTI, or manages to defend anything, China will, at the moment, have an 11-point lead. Well, extending it anyway with another hit. Just 2 points away from the end of this bout for TIAN. And now a tall order. Italy need 12 hits in a row, and it's looking unlikely.
Well, I was going to say, he just needs to defend his points lead, really, and then the stronger fencers pick up the points in the other bouts, but maybe that's just one of the tactics. But he's picking up points anyway, isn't he?
Well, the actual score between these two athletes is 4-1. And that's just opened that scoreline up, 29-16 to China. What a significant advantage. Only 3 more bouts after this one. TIAN just playing with BETTI there, keeping out of the way. Just a very gentle cart engagement from the right-hander onto the left-hander BETTI. And there, perfect timing. Just a nice cart parry. And makes it a 14-point lead for Italy. For China, sorry. China dominating Italy with 16 points to China's 30.
Brilliant stuff from China. What a team they are, and just well into the lead in this first round pool. And well, they're going through the matches very, very quickly here. China with a 30 points to 16 lead.
Well, next up, the only matchup of the 2 category B fencers. Who Daoliang and his opponent, Marco Sima. In theory, this should be more evenly matched. The only time we see B against B. Having said that, Marco Sima, the Italian, 40 years of age, but a foils specialist as opposed to the Epee. His best result ever at a Paralympic Games, 3 fourth places. So losing out in a bronze medal match on 3 occasions. The Italian will be desperate to turn that around at these Paralympic Games. Whereas he's now facing the silver medalist from these games, Daoliang, who has 5 Paralympic gold medals. So on paper, maybe not such an even match, although they are both category B. But Sima off to a quick start, getting the first point. But look at that for a tall order, trailing by 13.
Yeah, picks up a second. He looked determined, didn't he? Look how they're gripping the wheelchair there.
Who celebrating his first point of this bout.
We saw a lot of the fencers getting cramped. They grip that wheelchair so hard in order to gain momentum in defence and attack. Another one up there to Hugh.
Look over the top for the left-hander who on the outside of Sima's blade. It's 3-2 in this bout, brings it to 33-18. China over Italy. A very tidy wrist hit by Sima there. Just under the blade of Hu. Double touch. Well, that's going to go to the advantage of China because now they are just 1 point off the end of this bout. And another double does it. And now China lead 35-21. That was 5 apiece between Hu and Sima. A good fight for Sima, but just not managing to eat into the deficit that Italy are trailing by. But he didn't let it increase. So a positive bout for the Italian over the dominant Chinese team. Only 2 bouts remain in this first fight of Pool B, this first match. Italy against China. 3 teams per pool. And the other team that we get to see, we'll see in the next match. The team of Poland will be relaxing, starting to warm up. So get ready to face their opponents. So this bout, Sun Gang, People's Republic of China against Matteo BETTI of Italy. Now these are the top 2 from both teams. Matteo BETTI competed in the individual epee, the only one of the Italian team who did. He will face the new Paralympic champion from the individual epee. So the strongest 2 fencers from either team, but a serious advantage to Sun Gang. Not only is he in form, as we saw 2 days ago when he stormed to that gold medal, but he currently has a 14-point lead.
Well, I was going to say, where did the tactics differ here than in the individual competition? I mean, obviously in the earlier rounds anyway, it's 5 points until they get to the knockout rounds, which is then 15. But how does it change here? He's got a big deficit. How does he change his tactics in a team competition?
Well, all he's got to do is try and get some hits. But I mean, yes, it's sport, anything can happen. But right now, I think China will be feeling pretty confident.
I think so too.
China are now just 10 points away from winning this match. And Italy, well, they are 24 points away. That's if my maths is correct, I think that's right.
So a big difference, and Italy have a mountain to climb.
But if anyone's going to do it, Matteo BETTI is the strongest of the Italian team, and we saw him making inroads earlier when he came up against Daoliang. Managed to get 13 hits on the Chinese athlete, but who is from category B, whereas Sang category A, and one of the toughest fencers. If we go by the individual result, the best fencer in this fencing arena today. So China on a total of 35, you can see on the clock there. Italy on 21. And this is where, even if Matteo BETTI starts to rack up the points, he will need to really do that pretty swiftly, because only 3 minutes per bout. In other words, he needs to get 19 points in 3 minutes if he's going to put Italy in the lead.
Well, that is a tall order and highly unlikely, so that's where the time comes into play now.
From the side of China, though, Sun will be wanting to get to 40 points well before the 3 minutes runs out. So he won't be playing too much of a waiting game, but just won't want to give away too much to the Italians. And straight away there, BETTI just pretty much putting his wrist on the point of Sun. Well, that's an easy point for China. And you can see Sun just threatening with that point, really teasing BETTI and just disengaging the blade on the arm.
Yeah, he really is so explosive, isn't he, as well, in the attack. And he is again.
Just teasing, just keeping his point so close to BETTI's wrist. BETTI coming back with the counter-attack and getting his first point on the board. Sun really... Oh, that one sounded like it went off on the guard, and it did. Now, Sun heard that, and that's the reason. The body wire had unplugged from the ground lead, and as a result, that would have meant that Sun's epee not working, but also earthing on the guard. Well, the experience of Sun got that checked, and that point will be annulled. So at the moment, that's just on this bout specifically, it's 2 points to 1. Oh, the referee just checking. Oh, he's awarding. We're having a discussion. Maybe he is awarding that. He has awarded that point to BETTI. It was Sun's responsibility for his equipment, and even though he realised it was after the hit. Well, now BETTI with 3 individual points to 2 of Sun's, but still Sun only 3 away from winning this bout.
Yeah, fencing well, isn't he, BETTI?
Now that was a very tidy hit indeed, just nipping under the wrist, and the Italian starting to have a good fight here against the new Paralympic champion of Epee. But as you can see, he still trails by 12 overall, even though he has a 4-2 lead in this bout specifically. BETTI just having a spasm in his right hand. Now, when athletes have any difficulty with an injury that's as a result of their impairment, the referee has to allow time for that.
Yeah, he just wants to get on with it, but must have time to recover.
Sun 1 point closer to closing this out. Betty trying to keep his body as far out of the reach of Sun as he can until he sees the opportune moment. Sun really pressuring a double touch. No good to Italy because Sun is now just 1 point away from completing this bout. Betty just catching Sun as Sun came through with the attack. A little high. Betty just catching him underneath. A very accurate point. On the top of the arm there for Betty. Really picking Sun off as Sun just desperate to close this out. Maybe getting a little sloppy with some of his preparation on the attack.
Well, you often see it sometimes. They perform so well in the individuals and then coming back for the teams. It's so difficult now. It's all over. 40 points then up there. But that was hard. He was made to really fight for that, wasn't he?
Well, Betty getting 7 hits to Sun's 2. To Sun's 5, sorry, but still Italy trailing by 12 points with just 1 bout left to go. So it's all going to come down to TIAN Jianquan to bring it home for China. But it's Italy's Emanuele Lambertini who has his work cut out in this situation. The coach giving him some last-minute advice. The young Italian has got quite a challenge here as he's up against the bronze medalist from this individual event in both épée and in sabre, TIAN Jianquan. It's going to be a very tall order for Lambertini, the foil specialist. Three times Paralympian TIAN Jianquan will most probably be feeling confident as he faces the first-time Paralympian with a 12-point advantage.
Yeah, you can see the confidence, can't you? Just
TIAN very calm. He has been all the way through this. Every one of his matches. His last fight over Betty, he won 5 points to 1. And Betty, in theory, the strongest of the Italian team. Let's see what Lambertini can produce. Right now, it's just a matter of really trying to decrease that deficit, limit the damage that China are doing to the Italian team's scoreline.
Yeah, I think he's trying to draw him in there, wasn't it? A little bit of a fake and then straight the way through there. Look at that point there, China. 41 now, and TIAN gets a point. 1-0 up.
So easy for TIAN. He just doesn't look quick, but he's so accurate, and it's the timing. Isn't necessarily always the speed. And TIAN just waiting for Lambertini, because Lambertini can't play the waiting game in this situation, and TIAN knows that. So just waiting for the Italian to come in, make his move, and hoping he can pick him off in the process. So already 1 minute gone, and Italy trail by 14 points. First to 45 will be the winning team for this match.
Like you said, it's the timing. Timing is absolutely crucial, isn't it? Technically, the most important thing to get the timing right, and then speed as well, but it looks very relaxed.
Lambertini disengaging, moving out the way. That attack from TIAN. TIAN, no pressure on the Chinese fencer at all in this situation. If the time runs out, the time runs out. Trying to win by 14 points. But it's looking unlikely. 3-0 between the two fencers. 43-28 between the two teams. Tian just playing with Lambertini now.
Yeah, well, like you say, if the time runs out, it's all over anyway. So really, it's a waiting game, and a big ask, would you say, for Lambertini?
I think that's an understatement. Understatement of the fencing week. 15 points behind. Tian only 2 more needed to seal this match. Well, Lambertini will just gain a little bit of confidence from getting 1 point on the board. He knows that it's too much to ask now. Just 52 seconds left on the clock. And I think even if you put it the other way around and Tian had that much of a deficit, even Tian might struggle to eat this back, and he's the bronze medalist in this individual event.
In 52 seconds, you mean?
Exactly. Well, that hit was even disallowed, so Lambertini, after all that, still trailing. And this really is a bit of a whitewash for the final bout of the match. China win 45 points to 28. Tian winning 5 points to 0 over Lambertini.
Well, as expected, the Chinese team very, very strong.